The rebellion did what no one else could. They toppled the Empire. They outsmarted Palpatine, defeated Vader, and brought freedom back to the galaxy. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Once the war was over, they had no idea what to do next. The rebellion was built to fight, not to rule. And when the guns went quiet, their unity went with it. Because it's easy to lead a revolution when you have a villain to point at. It's a lot harder to lead when the enemy is gone. And the only thing left to fight is your own ego, your own politics, your own contradictions. The rebellion didn't die because of the Empire. It died because it became what it hated most. The New Republic was supposed to be a rebirth of democracy, but it quickly became a repeat of history. The same corruption, the same bureaucracy, the same arrogance that destroyed the old Republic came right back under a new flag. It turns out good intentions make for terrible government policy. While Leia begged the Senate to prepare for the First Order, they laughed her off as paranoid. While the Resistance rebuilt in secret, the New Republic disarmed. And when the threat finally came, it was already too late. The Republic was vaporized in seconds. The rebellion won the war, but it lost the peace. Their greatest strength, defiance, became their greatest weakness. They could fight tyranny, but they couldn't replace it. They could unite the galaxy in anger, but not in understanding. In this video, we'll explore why the rebellion was brilliant at fighting, but terrible at leading. How their ideals turned into their downfall, and how their victory may have doomed the galaxy to repeat the same war all over again. The rebellion was never supposed to rule the galaxy. It was supposed to survive it. It wasn't built like a government. It was built like a fire, burn bright, burn fast, and destroy whatever stands in its way. And when it came to fighting the Empire, that fire worked. The rebellion was a masterclass in asymmetric warfare, small, smart, unpredictable, and fueled by pure desperation. But what happens when the fire wins? What happens when the galaxy you burn to save actually needs rebuilding? When you look at the Rebel Alliance, it's a collection of freedom fighters, idealists and outcasts, not bureaucrats. Mon Mothma was a visionary, Leia was a diplomat, and Admiral Akbar was a military genius, but none of them had experience running a stable government. They knew how to lead missions, not manage economies. They knew how to rally hearts, not regulate systems. And after the Death Star exploded, that difference became painfully obvious. The rebellion's structure was always decentralized by design. It had to be. That's what made it impossible for the Empire to fully crush them. But decentralization, while great for surviving, is terrible for governing. Once the Empire was gone, there was no unified command, no clear chain of authority. The same flexibility that made the rebellion so resilient made the New Republic completely fragile. It's like going from a band of pirates to a parliament overnight. You can't just swap the X-Wings for executive chairs and expect the galaxy to function. The Empire may have been evil, but it was efficient. The rebellion was righteous, but it was chaotic. Even in canon, we see this friction immediately after Return of the Jedi. The New Republic Senate moved its capital constantly to avoid centralization, which sounded noble but was a logistical nightmare. Imagine trying to govern 10,000 systems when your headquarters keeps changing planets like a tourist. The galaxy didn't need ideals, it needed infrastructure. Leia understood this better than anyone. While others were celebrating, she was already worried. The Senate became gridlocked by the same kind of apathy that killed the old Republic. Every faction wanted freedom on its own terms, and nobody wanted responsibility. It's ironic, the same people who fought tyranny now refused accountability. The rebellion united against oppression, but it didn't agree on what peace should look like. To some, it meant complete independence from any central power. To others, it meant a stronger republic with stricter unity. That conflict split the alliance before it even had time to stabilize. And while the heroes of the rebellion debated ethics, the remnants of the Empire regrouped. The seeds of the First Order were already being planted, quietly and efficiently, while the so-called leaders of the New Republic were arguing about tax reform. The rebellion won the battle, but it never figured out how to win the aftermath. Victory came easily when the enemy wore black armor. It's harder when the enemy wears your own colors. They thought toppling the Empire would automatically restore peace, as if tyranny was a person you could kill instead of a mindset you had to overcome. Palpatine may have been gone, but the systems he built remained intact. And instead of dismantling them, the New Republic tried to repurpose them. You can't reuse the bones of a monster and expect a hero to stand. Look at how the rebellion treated the Imperial fleet after victory. Instead of scrapping it or demilitarizing the galaxy, they dismantled their own armies first. Mon Mothma believed that a galaxy without soldiers would be safer, but that idealism left them blind. While they were celebrating disarmament, the Imperial remnants fled into the unknown regions to rebuild, exactly as the Sith planned. The result was tragic irony. The New Republic prided itself on not being the Empire, yet its weakness recreated everything the Empire exploited. Corruption crept back in, bureaucracy slowed everything down, and by the time anyone noticed, the First Order had already emerged stronger than ever. The rebellion's leaders were visionaries, but they weren't pragmatists. They wanted to believe in good faith, in democracy, in trust. But you can't run a galaxy on optimism. You need enforcement, coordination, and long-term planning. All the things the rebellion deliberately avoided to stay morally clean. And that's the cruel joke of Star Wars history. Every revolution in this universe repeats the same mistake. The people who overthrow tyranny are never prepared to replace it. They're so defined by what they're fighting against that when the fight ends, they lose their purpose. The rebellion didn't just defeat the Empire, it became addicted to opposition. Leia's arc in The Force Awakens perfectly illustrates this. When she realizes the New Republic is too paralyzed to act, she forms the Resistance, a smaller, scrappier version of the rebellion. It's déjà vu with a sad twist. She's fighting the same war again, just under a new banner. The heroes never evolved, they just hit replay. Meanwhile, the New Republic Senate debates while entire systems vanish. They ignored every warning about the First Order until Starkiller Base literally erased them. The irony couldn't be sharper. The rebellion that once fought the Empire was destroyed by the same blindness that birthed it. The rebellion knew how to unite people through fear and fury, but not through patience or policy. It thrived on adrenaline, not administration. That's why when the war ended, the movement collapsed under its own weight. The rebels didn't lose to the Empire. They lost to peace. Because peace requires structure, and the rebellion was built on chaos. So, was the rebellion doomed from the start? Maybe not. But it was never designed to last. Its leaders were soldiers, not statesmen. Its vision was moral, not mechanical. And its success was emotional, not institutional. When the fighting stopped, they tried to turn a revolution into a government. And revolutions aren't meant to govern. They're meant to burn away what's broken. That's what makes the story of the rebellion both inspiring and tragic. They proved that hope could defeat tyranny, but they also proved that hope alone can't sustain peace. The rebellion's spirit was built on rebellion itself. Once the Empire was gone, their unity dissolved like smoke after a fire. What's interesting is that the Empire, for all its cruelty, had structure. It knew how to maintain control, supply chains, and defense systems. The rebellion tore all that down but never replaced it with anything better. They believed in freedom so fiercely that they refused to create order, fearing it might look too much like the Empire. But in doing so, they left a vacuum, and nature hates a vacuum. That vacuum was filled by chaos first, then by the First Order. History didn't repeat, it rhymed perfectly. Leia's heartbreak in the sequels isn't just personal, it's symbolic. She's watching the same galaxy make the same mistakes because no one learned from the last war. But maybe that's the core tragedy of the Star Wars universe. Every side thinks it's different, but the pattern is eternal. Republics become empires, empires breed rebellions, rebellions become republics, and the cycle starts again. The rebellion didn't end the empire, it rebooted it. Still, the rebellion's failure to lead doesn't erase its importance. Without it, the galaxy never would have remembered what freedom looked like. Sometimes revolutions exist not to rebuild, but to remind. And in that sense, the rebellion succeeded. It reminded the galaxy that people still had the power to rise up, even if they couldn't hold on to it. That's what makes the rebellion so human. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't permanent, but it mattered. It showed that even the smallest spark can change the course of history, even if the fire it starts eventually burns out. The New Republic may have failed, but its failure wasn't wasted. It taught the next generation what not to repeat. Or at least it should have. Because the lesson of the rebellion isn't just about victory, it's about responsibility. Winning freedom means nothing if you don't know how to protect it. And the galaxy is still paying the price for heroes who never learned how to stop fighting.
Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that share button. My main channel is Critical Analysis Hub, where I post Star Wars content about the movies. My secondary channel is Critical Analysis Hub Plus, where I focus on the shows of Star Wars. And my third channel is Critical Analysis Hub XP, where I post comic books. Be sure to take a moment and check them out. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.